We've got breaking news out of the NFL. 49ers quarterback Brock Purdy not expected to play on Sunday against the Saints. Head coach Kyle Shanahan said his QB1 is a long shot to suit up in New Orleans as he deals with both toe and shoulder injuries. Shanahan added those ailments could sideline him for more than just Sunday. So that means Mac Jones, get ready to speak 49ers, my friend. He's going to get the start on Sunday when the Niners take on the Saints. Of course, Mac Jones, if you remember, made 7 starts for the Jaguars last year when Trevor Lawrence was sidelined with multiple injuries. Our czar of the playbook, Emory Hunt, joining us. A very familiar role, I guess, for Mac Jones. Emory stepping in for another injured quarterback. But before we get to the Mac Jones of all of this, thoughts on Brock Purdy here, especially when you think about he worked so hard to get that contract extension. Where's your concern level right now?
One, I think he's grateful that he got paid already, so he's not still battling for that. So that's number one. But I'm about a 5 in terms of the panic level for San Francisco without a Brock Purdy out there, because when you think about Brock Purdy and what he brings to the table, athleticism, mobility, and even though he didn't play his best game last week against Seattle, you still needed Brock Purdy to come back in that ball game against Seattle. So he was the one that kind of righted the ship with everything else around him was kind of falling apart. So when you don't have a Brock Purdy, and now you're putting a Mac Jones in a situation who's not as athletic as Purdy is, not as familiar with the scheme as Brock Purdy is, that kind of permeates throughout the rest of the roster that is already banged up on the offensive side of football.
I mean, look, the injuries just continue to stack up for the 49ers. Brock Purdy now not likely to play. We also know George Kittle just went on IR, so he's out for the next 4 weeks. We saw Juwan Jennings, another pass catcher, get injured. And this, Emory, just feels like kind of the same song and dance that we saw a year ago. The good news is that Christian McCaffrey was okay, so you avoid some disaster there. But I guess what's the impact going forward against this Saints team? What's the mentality that this team should be playing with, knowing that they're going to do it with a backup quarterback behind center?
That's a great question, Haley, because when you think about New Orleans, they have an inexperienced quarterback in Spencer Rattler, who played well last week against Arizona. We saw the drop potential tying touchdown in the end zone to Juwan Johnson. So you expect him to play a little bit better in the second game as a full-time starter with all of those starting weapons. This is more about San Francisco's defense. They're going to have to rise to the occasion against an inexperienced quarterback in Spencer Rattler with not as many explosive weapons on the perimeter. So that's going to be the intriguing matchup. Can the Saints offense find some points against San Francisco's defense? Because best believe they're going to come out there hot and heavy trying to blitz Spencer Rattler and get him on the ground and take advantage of some parts of that Saints offensive line. Now for the 49ers on offense, it's about Christian McCaffrey and Brian Robinson. Can they run the football consistently against this Saints defense? But the problem is the Saints defense knows that, hey, they want to run the football. They're going to put the onus on Mac Jones to make at least 5 to 6 plays a game with his arm. And that is the biggest question mark that we have to wait and see if Mac Jones can avoid a turnover and make those plays offensively in the passing game.
I remember when Mac Jones was coming out of college, and I was working in Alabama at the time, so I had a front row seat to his mechanical arm. I mean, it felt like he could throw 100 yards in one throw. And so it's interesting how the narrative has sort of shifted as he's navigated his way through the NFL. And it seems like, Emory, this could be a good opportunity for him to reset that narrative there as you look at all of the injuries that the 49ers are dealing with. Something that our colleagues actually brought up last night was that little rumor that went around back during the 2021 draft that Kyle Shanahan actually was kind of feeling Mac Jones. He liked his energy, and that could have been a guy that could have gone to the 49ers. Instead, they go with Trey Lance. But how much of that rumor, we'll call it a rumor here on HQ, but how much of that do you think plays into the mind when it comes to Shanahan's confidence in his quarterback?
I would give that credence if we hadn't seen Mac Jones play in New England and Jacksonville. So if we hadn't seen Mac Jones play a lot of football, then I would say, okay, this is the great fit. Because to be honest and to be fair, we saw Kyle Shanahan do a great job with Sam Darnold and how that replenished his career and got him on the right track to where he is now with where he went to Minnesota, and then he now is in Seattle. But Mac Jones is different. Mac Jones isn't the athlete that Sam Darnold is. He doesn't have the arm talent that Sam Darnold has. And Brock Purdy is more of that improviser type guy. And so unless Mac Jones is playing on rhythm, on script, and on schedule, things can get kind of haywire, which we saw happen in Jacksonville with the turnovers, which we saw happen in New England as well. So that's why I said this is going to have to be about the run game. This is going to have to be more so about this 49er defense that looks to be full strength and what they can do to disrupt this offense of Kellen Moore, which they've seen before when he was in Dallas and whatnot. So I think this is a good matchup defensively for San Francisco, but the offense of San Fran is going to be one-dimensional, a little bit more, take what the defense gives you in terms of the passing game. If they can't explode down the field with the aerial attack, it's going to be a problem. They're going to find themselves in a very tightly contested matchup with a team in New Orleans that smells blood in the water.
They competed last week against the Cardinals, the New Orleans Saints did, which is more than a lot of us gave them credit for. Emory, before we let you go, I want you to take a look at the 49ers schedule coming up because I want to go big picture here. Obviously, the focus this week is on the New Orleans Saints, but as you look forward, week 3, week 4, et cetera, Kyle Shanahan has said when it comes to Brock Purdy that this is expected to be a multi-week injury here. So based on what you know and what you've seen out of Mac Jones to this point, based on what you told me about the confidence that this team should be playing with, how impacted do you think this schedule will be knowing that they're going to have to play with a backup quarterback for the next at least couple of weeks?
Number one, all the NFC games are important because you're fighting for seeding in that regard. That game against the Rams and Cardinals are going to be huge because those are divisional matchups. And the Tampa Bay Falcons stretch right there are important because those two teams could be also in the postseason as well. So now you're vying for that 6 or 7 seed. So weeks 2 through week 7 are going to be crucial. They have to get Brock Purdy back pretty quickly, hopefully right after that Jaguars game. So if you can go get one against the Saints, and you hopefully you can get one against the Cardinals, then you feel confident going into that game after the Jacksonville Jaguars because now you have your Brock Purdy back and you should be ready to withstand that 2 to 3 game window. That's the purpose of having your backup quarterback be a guy that has started a lot of games in the NFL because you only need him for this 2 to 3 week window. Now, anything after that, when we saw that slate of NFC games, Bucks, Falcons, and those matchups, then you're entering, man, this is a bad situation we're in, and we're probably going to have to look toward 2026.
They finished 6-11 last year, last in the NFC West. And to your point, that game that you're referencing post-Jaguars is at the Rams. So you would like to have your starting quarterback if you're going to take on Matt Stafford and the Rams. Emory Hunt, always prepped and ready to go when it comes to breaking news here on CBS Sports HQ. Brock Purdy, a, quote, long shot to play for the 49ers matchup this week against the New Orleans Saints. That is the latest from Kyle Shanahan. Of course, the 49ers continue to deal with injury after injury as you take one look at the schedule. Emory says post-Jags, they should be good to go, but we'll see how it all plays out.